The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
That was a great 4 days. I think it was a historic 4 days. The jobs and money coming into our country has never been anything like it.
President Trump's investment tour is over. What he accomplished and what was left undone in his first official foreign trip of his second term.
350,000 people are not able to get to where they're going just because of 460 people are not able to go to work because they're not paid safely.
A transit strike shuts down New Jersey's railway. What the union is looking for to get the trains back running again. And then an American athlete overseas is in a battle of life and death. The charges a former collegiate basketball player is facing in Indonesia. This is the National News Desk, America's News. Now, good evening on your Friday, and I'm Dee Dee Gatton, and we begin tonight with severe weather alerts in America's heartland. A tornado watch in effect right now for parts of Arkansas, Illinois, and Missouri for the next 2 hours, and in Indiana until at least 10 tonight. Hurricane force winds exceeding 75 miles per hour can be expected tonight in the Mississippi Valley as well as in Ohio and Tennessee. Be alert for more tornado threats as well as heavy hail to be expected in some of these areas. This multi-day event will continue tomorrow. We are tracking it through parts of East Texas, South Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Now on the East Coast, heavy thunderstorms and high winds can be expected, especially in New England. Sunday, a new system headed for the Midwest. There is a high chance of severe weather again in Kansas. Stay with us as we continue to track the latest developments on these forecasts throughout the evening. We'll have coverage for you both on air and online at thenationaldesk.com.
I leave now and get onto a 42-year-old Boeing. But new ones are coming. New ones are coming.
President Donald Trump there, currently in the air, headed back to Washington, D.C., expected to arrive at Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland around 10:20 p.m. Eastern tonight. Before leaving, he attended a business council in the UAE, concluding a 4-day, 3-country investment tour of the Middle East. Trillions of dollars in investments have been secured in trade and military deals, but no peace agreements were reached for the major warring conflicts. The president commented on where things stand with Iran as the two countries talk about a new nuclear agreement.
On your ranch, has the U.S. given them a formal proposal? Has Steve Witkoff handed that over?
Yeah, they have a proposal, but more importantly, they know they have to move quickly, or something bad's going to happen.
Meanwhile, in Turkey, peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, along with delegations from Turkey and the United States, ended after less than 2 hours. According to the Associated Press, citing Ukrainian officials, Russia demanded Ukraine give up huge swaths of territory that weren't even on the table to begin with. Neither president of either country was there, and President Trump agrees Russia's demands are unrealistic. He claims the only path to peace is if he meets with Russian President Vladimir Putin himself, which he plans on doing either in person or over the phone.
Are you planning to call Vladimir Putin? How do you think you can get those talks on track?
We have to meet. He and I will meet. I think we'll solve it, or maybe not, but at least we'll know. And if we don't solve it, it'll be very interesting.
New developments tonight. The former director of the FBI is under investigation by the Department of Homeland Security and the Secret Service for an Instagram post he made this week showing the numbers 8647. 86, it means to get rid of something. Donald Trump is the 47th president. National correspondent Christine Frizzell brings us the details.
The post from the former FBI director looked like this. James Comey writing, "Cool shelf formation on my beach walk," next to 8647, which he later deleted, writing he assumed it had been a political message, adding, "I didn't realize some folks associate those numbers with violence." Still, the reaction from the right was swift.
Do you believe Comey should be in jail?
I do.
Senator Ted Cruz accusing him of publicly calling for the murder of the President of the United States. The Speaker of the House calling it outrageous and dangerous. Trump himself responding on Fox News.
He knew exactly what that meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination.
Merriam-Webster Dictionary defining the term 86, to eject, dismiss, or remove someone. On Amazon, the 8646 t-shirts described as to mean impeach Biden. Legal experts say the term does not fit the legal standard of a threat.
So the question here is how much of this is government weaponization theater versus a real legal problem.
While Comey has been largely silent since Trump's re-election, both men have publicly slammed the other for years.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help God.
A relationship soured shortly after Comey told Congress his FBI was investigating connections between the Trump campaign and Russia. Donald Trump later firing him in May 2017, just 4 years into his 10-year term. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said in a post that DHS and Secret Service is investigating this threat and will respond appropriately. I'm Christine Frizzell for the National News Desk.
Right now, 10 inmates are on the run after breaking out of a New Orleans jail. They are considered armed and dangerous. 11 men were not accounted for during a routine head count this morning. In fact, one of them has been taken back into custody. New Orleans Police Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick believes the inmates had inside help to escape and says anyone caught helping the fugitives will be held accountable. Developing now, the first week of the likely 8-week sex trafficking trial of rap mogul Sean Diddy Combs has wrapped in New York. Combs' ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura took the stand for a 4th day. The defense team continued to try to connect Ventura with Combs' freak-offs, suggesting she knew about what they were and willingly went along with it. They showed texts to the jury and questioned Ventura about to the jury and questioned Ventura asking Combs for more of the freak-offs. The trial will continue on Monday with the prosecution's next witness. And as many as 350,000 commuters in New Jersey impacted today as the 450 members of the Brotherhood of the Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen Union walked off the job this morning. This closed the trains for the first time since 1983. The New Jersey transit system is the 3rd largest in the country. Governor Phil Murphy said this afternoon he wants a new deal in place as soon as possible, but says the union needs to negotiate in good faith. The union says their biggest concern is contract talks. So far has been low pay.
So basically, we're looking for parity. We're looking for a fair contract, fair wages. There are other railroads that share their station with us, same tracks, sometimes the same equipment, who make this significantly more than we do, and we think we just need to be on par with them.
The Department of Justice is dropping the criminal case against Boeing related to the 2 deadly airline crashes in 2018 and 2019 that killed a combined 346 people. This is according to the families of the victims. Instead, a new settlement has been reached for an additional $444 million settlement. An attorney for the families called the new agreement repugnant and says it feels like a bribe. While overseas, President Trump secured Boeing's largest international order for new planes with Qatar, worth as much as $96 billion. And a Brown University student who followed in the footsteps of Doge has won a battle over free speech. The student will not face any disciplinary action after sending a Doge-inspired email to thousands of university administrators. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris, spoke with him in the first on-camera interview since the decision was made.
Shea said his hearing was last week and simply put, he won, saying he convinced Brown's own reviewer, who the university assigned to this case, that he didn't break any rules, adding that he believes the charges were retaliation for exposing waste.
Back in March, Shea, who's a student journalist at Brown, sent emails to thousands of school administrators asking them to explain their jobs and dig into why tuition is just north of $90,000 a year.
It was respectful, and it was a press request, a request for comment.
Shea listed the administrators' names on a website called Bloat at Brown. Shortly after, university officials responding with disciplinary charges.
They hit me with emotional harm. Then it got changed to misrepresentation. They argued that my process of sending the emails and gathering the data on these employees violated Brown's technology policy.
Upon learning of the charges, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression stepping in, criticizing Brown over its commitment to free speech.
Our primary concern is building a culture of free expression and specifically of a free press at Brown.
On Wednesday, after nearly 2 months fighting the charges, Shea received receiving an email from a university official saying after review, they found him not responsible on the charges.
There wasn't nearly enough in the allegations they put forward to justify any of the charges.
I continue to prosecute this case against Brown for, I guess, for killing the American dream.
When asked to comment on the outcome of Shea's hearing, a university spokesperson telling us in part, since the start of this matter, Brown has proceeded in complete accordance with free expression guarantees and appropriate procedural safeguards under university policies and applicable law. Now, Shea went on to say he believes those who retaliated against a student journalist need to be held responsible. He is also calling on University President Christina Paxson to resign. I'm Jeff Harris reporting from Washington.
Up next, the DOJ invoking the state secret's privilege in the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case, the Maryland case leaving state judges in limbo. And the Trump-backed budget bill fails a key test on Capitol Hill, the road bump for the so-called big, beautiful bill. And later, the Virginia County voting against ICE, why they say they deserve more control over their own policing. House-backed big, beautiful bill, the budget appropriations reconciliation legislation, suffered a major setback today when it failed to pass the Republican-held House Budget Committee. 5 Republicans joined all Democrats not to advance the bill to the House floor. Congressman Chip Roy and Ralph Norman vehemently oppose the current framework of this bill.
I have to now admonish my colleagues on this side of the aisle. This bill falls profoundly short. It does not do what we say it does with respect to deficits.
Sadly, I'm a hard no until we get this ironed out. And I think we can. We made progress, but it just takes time.
In order to get the bill to the floor, it has to pass the committee and then go to the Rules Committee. President Trump posed on Truth Social that Republicans need to unite behind the one big, beautiful bill. The Budget Committee is now expected to reconvene at 10 Sunday night to vote again in the bill. The Trump administration made its case today in court on the status of bringing Kilmar Abrego Garcia back to the U.S. Government lawyers say many of the details are privileged information and could harm national security, as well as lose the trust for foreign governments. Abrego Garcia's lawyers say the administration has talked publicly about the case, but not in court. The judge ordered the U.S. to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return in April and wants proof of compliance. Trump's $5 million gold card is already being quietly tested. The Trump administration says it's an investment in America, but critics say that it could be a backdoor for billionaires. The National News Desk, Angela Brown, breaks it all down.
America's golden age taking on a whole new meaning.
For $5 million, this could be yours.
The National News Desk on board Air Force One for this viral moment. President Donald Trump teasing the gold card.
Who's the first buyer?
Me.
Making headlines this week, Elon Musk says the program is quietly being tested, while out front, the Trump administration is making bold claims about demand.
Last night, I was out to dinner and someone came up and said, can I buy 10?
So what's the gold card? It's a fast track to U.S. citizenship for the ultra-wealthy, replacing the current EB-5 visa that required foreigners to invest around $1 million in projects creating at least 10 jobs. Trump's plan? Skip the job requirement, just pay $5 million.
That's $5 million that's directly going to the U.S. Treasury, rather than money that's being invested into the U.S. economy directly.
Progressives like Senator Bernie Sanders say it's less about citizenship and more about selling America to the highest bidder.
But if you're some billionaire in Saudi Arabia or someplace, hey, welcome to the United States of America. $5 million, man, we want the rich and the powerful to come in here.
One major question, who's vetting these buyers? And could this open the door to criminal actors or billionaires with shady records? Cedarville University professor Dr. Pynchon says, not quite.
Someone who's a known terrorist can't just give us $5 million and suddenly gets a green card. All these individuals are still going to have to go through the normal immigration procedures.
The Department of Homeland Security says the current EB-5 program allots about 10,000 immigrant visas each year. According to the Associated Press, around 8,000 people got investor visas in the 12-month period ending September 30th, 2022. The Trump administration has suggested selling 1 million gold cards. In Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
An American former collegiate basketball player could be fighting for his life in Indonesia after being arrested last week for mailing in cannabis candies. Authorities were alerted by customs when a package from Thailand contained the contraband. Marijuana, not illegal in Thailand, but it is in Indonesia. 34-year-old Jared Dwayne Ashaw is accused of drug smuggling. If found guilty, he faces life in prison or the death penalty. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We're taking the pulse of America. And we start in Virginia, where the county board voted to ban police from cooperating with immigration officials.
Does this new policy change make legal residents of Arlington County safer? Yes or no?
Make all residents of Arlington County safer.
How?
Because it allows our police to do their job, and not only that, it allows that the existing connections of trust that we have worked over decades to build, they are restored. So people are not worried about immigration, which is irrelevant. If we are prosecuting a crime, immigration is irrelevant.
But if you have confirmed gang members in Arlington County, if you have terrorists, if you have human traffickers,
we will arrest them.
But you don't want to hand them over to ICE?
No. This is not the. Our job is to arrest them, to prosecute them, and to bring them before a court of justice.
ICE says this is going to make Arlington County a magnet for terrorists, gang members, and human traffickers.
You're wrong on that.
If that happens, if it happens, are you going to reverse this policy?
No.
Lifetime Fitness gym member Sonia Horton recounts the moments that led her to file a state complaint against the Palm Beach Gardens facility.
I went in the ladies' locker room to the dry sauna, and I was sitting there, and a man in bikini walked in and sat across from me. I was like, oh, that's strange.
She immediately left the sauna and went to the front desk to inquire about the policy.
And they told me basically whatever you express yourself as is where you're allowed to go. And I thought that was interesting.
According to Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier, state law protects spaces designated for women, and no local ordinance or corporate policy can override that.
Lifetime Fitness tried to hide behind a misread county code, but the law is crystal clear. And so is my message. Men do not belong in women's restrooms or locker rooms, period.
My niece cannot go back to the school she was at because of the bullying, and it got so bad that she didn't feel safe.
And she's not alone.
He actually wrote a letter to his teacher, to his homeroom teacher, and told her that he feared for his safety.
And how you feel about cell phones potentially being banned during the school day.
He feels like if there's an emergency in the school that he doesn't know that he doesn't feel comfortable that these teachers will protect him.
Break a point. I don't want my grandson to commit suicide because he's getting bullied
feel like he shouldn't have this much anxiety just going to elementary school.
At the end of the day, parents dealing with safety concerns say there are a lot of questions that need answered before this bill becomes a law.
If they're going to eliminate cell phones in the schools for all the children, where is that support going to come from? How are they going to contact parents daily? Who is that point person?
Coming up, for frequent flyers, well, it's a must, but they could cost a disaster in the skies. What some experts say needs to be done now to save precious lives. We use them every single day. Devices powered by lithium-ion batteries. In fact, travelers bring an average of 4 of these devices when they fly. But there's been a dramatic spike in fires triggered by these batteries on board flights. And as Spotlight on America's Chris Daniels reports, experts warn more needs to be done to avoid a disaster.
It was probably the scariest experience of my life.
Joseph Fleck still has the image seared in his mind.
I hear a loud yell, "Hey, there's a fire." I looked up immediately and quickly saw the cabin filling with smoke.
His Spirit Airlines flight from Dallas to Orlando had to make an emergency landing. 10 people were hospitalized, all because of a lithium-ion battery. It's a story increasing in frequency. A laptop battery prompted another fire at San Francisco International Airport last summer, forcing evacuations. And in South Korea,
that plane was within 10 minutes of taking off.
A fire destroyed this plane.
If that fire had occurred 15 minutes later, it could have easily resulted in the crash of that airplane.
A battery bank also stored in an overhead bin to blame. In fact, fires involving lithium-ion batteries on planes have risen 388% since 2015, now happening nearly twice a week on average, according to federal data.
Any fire at 30,000 feet is a problem.
David Roth is the Senior Director of Technologies and Systems for UL Standards and Engagement, a leading company that tests and certifies batteries for safety.
Are there different dynamics with airplanes that's leading to these explosions or fires?
It typically ends up being damage or abuse to the battery. In some cases, substandard or even counterfeit batteries, but by and large, it's because of abused or damaged batteries.
Most fires on planes involve the battery or battery packs themselves, followed by e-cigarettes or vaping devices.
Or in some cases, the battery can explode.
But also happen with cell phones and laptops of all brands that can overheat and go into something called thermal runaway.
Thermal runaway is essentially a condition where the battery starts to release energy in an uncontrolled way. And in most extreme cases, it can result in smoke, fire, and even explosion.
Like in this test video demonstrating how thousands of batteries stored in one place can ignite a catastrophic explosion and fire. There's question about how airlines deal with battery emergencies on board. A recent UL survey found self-reported gaps in flight crews' understanding of the events and how to handle them, as well as varying procedures when it comes to safety equipment. Spotlight on America contacted all the major U.S. airlines, and only Alaska responded to suggest flight crews are trained and carry the containment equipment.
Maybe 5 seconds where I said, wow, this is it. This is how it ends, right? It was terrifying.
Flex says the memory is still fresh, and he's changed his flight patterns as a result. This spring, the TSA issued a new rule requiring that all power banks, cell phone charging cases, and spare laptop batteries must be placed in carry-on baggage to contain any fire or threat on board a plane. A good rule of thumb, our expert tells us, if you are carrying one of these devices, make sure it's in arm's reach. That's the story for now. For Spotlight on America, I'm Chris Daniels.
The FAA did not answer our specific questions about whether it is considering additional guidance for passengers or airlines. You can read more about what the agency did tell us at spotlightinvestigates.com. Coming up, one of America's most popular airlines changing course, the seating categories with a twist. We'll explain coming up next. Delta is doing a major overhaul of its seating categories. Delta Main cabin is getting shortened to Delta Main. Delta Comfort Plus is dropping the plus and will be Delta Comfort. And Delta First Class has been shortened to Delta First. Delta Premium Select and Delta One, they are keeping their names. The cheapest seat option, Basic Economy, is being folded into Delta Main. Delta Main has 3 tiers of options. The multiple tiers will offer a wider degree of pricing. Changes will be implemented in October. That's going to do it for us for this edition of the National News Desk. We invite you to join us again tonight as we track the dangerous weather throughout the weekend, now impacting millions into next week. I'm Dee Dee Gatton. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tonight at 10.